Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Reino de las Mascaras, the Kingdom of the Masks. I am your host, as always, ReyDeMascaras, and today I want to talk about something I feel like needs to get talked about this week due to some circumstances going around, and I think it's time I do my part as a mask collector to try and get ahead of it and try and clamp down as much as I can and try to get the word out as best as I can. And unfortunately, that topic is the topic of fraud, scams, whatever you want to call them. As many of you know, I am obviously beyond, I'm obviously a mask collector, but I also collect championship belt replicas. I've got about 10. I'm much more selective with belts. They're, for the most part, they're a lot more expensive than masks. And so I'm a little more selective with what I buy belt-wise, but I've got a pretty good collection. WWF era belts, WCW, or not even WCW, but NWA era belts. I've got a big gold belt, and one of my prized items in my collection is my I don't want to really call it but it is the belt that I acquired from one of my local promotions up here, Time Bomb Pro Wrestling, when they went ahead and updated their championship belt. I was able to take the original belt and give it a nice home up here in the Emporium. So anyway, kind of getting sidetracked, but with the belt community comes a lot of minefields. I belong to a few Facebook groups with belts, and it seems like every other day there's another 5 scam posts. People using pictures of belts that they don't have, people, taking someone else's photo and saying, hey, I've got this item for sale, trying to get somebody to buy, and other aspects of that. Now, luckily, you don't see quite as much of that sort of thing in the mask community, but over the last month or so, I've noticed a little bit of an uptick. Now, a lot of people think that, top season for these, types of activities do fall around the holidays, which they do, but also the new year as well, because people are starting to do their taxes, starting to do getting their returns and whatnot. So, it's, hey, people got money, time to pull the tricks. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of posts come around with masks that are not what they are advertised as, not what, are not for sale, actually, because somebody has taken the picture and misrepresented and tried to get people to buy it. So, I just want to speak out. I've touched on it a little bit, but I don't want to say it's easy. I don't want to say that I'm an easy target, because I'm not. But this even happened to me. A couple of months ago, I acquired this awesome Penta Hayabusa fusion type mask. It is signed. It is signed. I can verify, and I've got verification from someone who knew the original owner that is Penta's signature. He witnessed it signed. So I can tell you right now for sure, this is a signed Penta Hayabusa fusion mask. Now, excuse me, been fighting a cold. I was actually sick Monday and Tuesday with what I believe was food poisoning. My wife and I both had it. Now we're kind of dealing with a little bit of cold stuff. The temperatures kind of fluctuated. And anyway, so thank you for bearing with me. So this mask here, I purchased, and I did what I thought was, my due diligence. I asked the seller, do you know where this is from? Do you know where he wore this? I scoured the internet looking for a picture of Penta wearing this. And I was told some things that, in hindsight, I probably should have questioned right off the get-go. But I liked this mask, and I think if I would have just gone ahead and said, you know, I really like this mask, I'm gonna go ahead and go for it, you know, maybe maybe I would have done it, maybe I would have backed out. I don't know. It's hard to say. Hindsight's always 2020, but you know, the information that I was given once I was asking the questions from the seller, it should have set off some red flags and made me think, is this true? You know, um, so after I acquired it and posted it on Instagram, Azteca Masks over there reached out, asked some questions, and right away I could tell he knew what he was talking about. He was asking questions about the mask that only somebody who had had the mask in their hands and looked at it would have known. So I was like, okay, this gentleman knows what he's talking about, what's going on here. And I answered the questions, and you know, he was super apologetic, and I made it well known that I was not even thinking that it was his friend that did it, because it wasn't. It was somebody. The mask has changed hands a few times, but it was one of those things that kind of like, it kind of stings you after a while. You know, it is it's an authentic mask. It's something that Penta signed, so it's a signed Penta mask. Did I pay more than I would have for just a regular mask of his signed that was not used, not worn, not from him? Oh yeah, and that's, you know, that's where I'm kind of burnt on it as much as I am. I love the mask. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not, you know, shunning it. It's just kind of one of those things that's like, okay, I'm going to take that as a learning experience. And on the flip side, you know, I've talked about this one as well in the past, but this is a Teton mask. I bought it from Japan, and you know, I was really kind of curious because the photos on eBay weren't showing that it was signed. It was advertised as signed, but I didn't see any. And I said, hey, just kind of curious. I didn't see any photos in the listing showing it signed, but is it signed? And no, like almost no time at all, the seller responded, said, "Yep, I see that I didn't put pictures in there, but I'm gonna get pictures for you." And he did right away, and I could see it matched, you know, previous masks that I've seen that Teton has signed. Uh, you know, same format, same same verbiage, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it gave me the good feeling that, okay, this is definitely one that I can trust. So I went ahead, I purchased it. It came like record time. I think 3 days from the time I bought it, it was at my doorstep. And so I was super appreciative of the seller that said, "Hey, you know, he stepped up and he provided me all the info I asked, and didn't try to spin a yarn, didn't try to do anything." And you know, I'm kind of trying to take a learning experience from both experiences, because when I started collecting, I always felt like a bother when I would see a listing somewhere and say, "Hey, can I have more information?" You know, I always thought that I would come across as somebody that was like, "Oh, I don't trust what you're selling," or whatever. But as time has gone on, now I'm seeing that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Any seller worth their salt is going to, you know, provide that extra info that they can, and answer questions and do everything they can to make you feel comfortable with the transaction. Now, did the person who sold me the Pentabusa do much the same thing? Yes. In hindsight, though, again, I look back at that and I look and I see, you know, there was some stuff that was sprinkled in there that I wasn't asking for, that I probably should have questioned. But you live, you learn, and you're better for it. So I guess kind of got on a tangent a little bit, but you know, the purpose of this week's episode is I want to push the, you know, I want to push forward the notion that if you're not sure about something, question it. If your questions aren't being answered to what you would deem is, you know, to your satisfaction, don't be afraid to back out. You know, I've I've purchased directly from luchadors in person. I've purchased, you know, from Republic of Lucha. I've purchased through Mercari. I've purchased through eBay. The Pentabusa one is the first time that I had something happen even remotely similar to this. So 99% of the community, the mask community, is going to do you good. There are so many great resources out there. There are so many great sellers. There are so many, there's so many great avenues and great things about the mask community that I just want to take that step and say, yeah, we're seeing a lot of stuff that's going around. Dos Hermanos Lucha this week posted that somebody was trying to pass off a Volador Jr. mask as one of his Apuestas masks. And that's one thing that's definitely trips my radar when I see listings is I don't see a whole lot of luchadors giving up an Apuestas mask, whether it was one that they wore and defended the mask, whether it was a mask they won from another luchador. Now, I have seen them sold, but somebody like a Volador Jr., I don't foresee getting rid of one, or, somebody that has one, I don't foresee, trying to sell it. And that's just me, it's just, I just want the community to grow. I just want, mask collecting to continue down the road it's been. And that's a road of acceptance. That's a road of, not having to deal with all of these tricks, all of these, fraudulent purchases, these fraudulent sellers. So I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say here. I didn't have a whole lot to go off of this week. I didn't, like I said, I was kind of out of commission Monday and Tuesday, but the more I see stuff, the more I'm like, I want to put something out. I want to put, something out praising that mask community, for being on top of it, for watching out for each other. Dos Hermanos Lucha, they are always on Facebook, on Instagram, if they see something that's not right, they're putting it on blast. They're saying, hey, if you see this listed anywhere, do not buy it. This mask is not for sale. You will not receive it. And a source like that is invaluable in a community like this. And, they put out a great podcast a few years ago. I believe it's still on Apple. I'm not sure about other platforms. Might be on YouTube. But they did a great podcast, about an hour and a half long. They talked about mask grades, about where to purchase, about what to look out for. Definitely seek that out. It's an invaluable source of information, especially if you're just getting into mask collecting. And don't be afraid to reach out to them if you have questions. These guys will answer your questions. If you see something you're interested in, you're not sure if it's legit, reach out to them. They will take a look at it. They will do their research, and they will give you an answer. And that's absolutely amazing to have in a community like this. So, Dos Hermanos Luchas, thank you guys very much for everything you do. If you haven't checked them out on Instagram yet, please do so. I've used the phrasing before that not only are they mask collectors, they are preserving history. Rey Mysterio Jr. masks, Ultimo Dragon masks, countless other masks from some of these luchadors, most prolific matches are in their collection and are going to be something that will be able to be seen and enjoyed for generations to come. So thank you guys if you're watching. And definitely, if you haven't reached out to them and you're looking to buy masks and you're not sure, you want some information, reach out to them. They'll be happy to help you out. So that is my episode this week. Thank you for joining. Thank you for putting up with a little bit of soapbox action. I try not to get on these tangents too much, but when I see people getting ripped off or at the risk of getting ripped off, it burns me a little bit. So, I don't want somebody to start wanting to collect masks, get burnt their first time and turn right around, because that's not what this is all about. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll do this again at the same time next week. So until then, live, laugh, love, and lucha libre. We'll see ya.